it's Dynasty Startup Draft season right now. And so obviously when you go into a Dynasty Startup, you would like to kill the Dynasty Startup in order to have a good Dynasty team. And so we're here to tell you how to do that. And we would know because we are notorious for not drafting Justin Fields in the 4th round of a Dynasty Startup just 5 months ago. But with that being said, we did just do a $250 Dynasty Startup, and here's the strategy we took into it. How did we approach this Dynasty Startup Draft? We're here to tell you all of our secrets, and we're also here to tell you how you should be going about your Dynasty Startup Drafts right now. So let's look at this draft, and let's look at the first 2 rounds here of this draft. Let's look at how we approach this. So big QB run up front, 7 QBs off the board. Can you blame them? I don't blame them.
I don't blame them in a $250 league, but I did think it was very interesting. Usually you see it, especially in a lot of lower stakes leagues, people try to go and they get that championship right away, and they go and they take the best wide receiver available at the 5th overall pick. You usually see Jeff going around there 4, 5, 6, and he didn't go till the 1-8 in the first round of this draft. And I thought that was really phenomenal value for getting Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb back to back there at the 1-8 and the 1-9. And honestly, in a perfect world, that probably is how it should be, in my opinion, just with the value of quarterbacks in a super flex league. I think it really did show just how much people were really putting a lot of thought and intention into this very high stakes money league.
It is funny because, everybody, there's high stakes. Everybody wants to win. And so people draft like this. And I look at this and I say, this is how people should play Dynasty. This is how people should draft. You should draft to win. That you should be drafting Dynasty to win your Dynasty league. And so what do people do in the first round when they're trying to win their Dynasty league? More often than not, they take quarterback. And what did we do in this? We took quarterback. Not only any quarterback, but the highest upside quarterback of all time, in Anthony Richardson. And are we homers? Absolutely we are. Yes. Yeah. But at the same time, when you're looking at our pick there at the 110, which by the way, we did a derby style draft, which means we all drew and we got to pick our position first. We did not rig it, but they said we did. We picked the 110. Why? Because 3rd round reversal, because we'll get some value there, because we know we can go dual elite QB there, because that second range of QBs, Herbert, Murray, Love, and Lawrence, we knew we'd get another one of those guys, and then get the 3rd round reversal. I have a lot of people that are over on flockfantasy.com/domain. They're like, hey, will you help me with the startup draft? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, it's no 3rd round reversal. And I'm like, oh. So play in 3rd round reversal drafts if you can. But we took Anthony Richardson here because it was him or Herbert. We'd seen Herbert slide a little bit. And I really, the only other options here were Chase or Amon-Ra. Maybe you could make the argument for Marvin Harrison Jr., but we were always, and I've said this, dual elite QB strategy, which is 2 quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds in a Dynasty startup. That's like my safety blanket at this point. So I was hugging my safety blanket.
Yeah, we picked the 110 targeting Anthony Richardson. We knew who we were going for to pick at the end of the first, and we would recommend for a lot of people who are trying in a super flex format to go with Anthony Richardson at the end of the first round because it really is worth the risk there. And then we got lucky enough to see Herbert fall to the 2-3, Kyler Murray fall even further to the 2-5. In my opinion, some of the best values that you're able to get in the draft. Those are some of our favorite quarterbacks to target right now.
Absolutely.
In Dynasty Fantasy Football because their ceiling is so much higher than where they're being drafted. That also includes Jordan Love, who's going in the same range and is going to get a long-term insulated contract, and his value is going to go up. Yeah, I mean, he was productive last year, was a QB1, and he started the season pretty dang slow. They're going to come out guns a-blazing this year, the Green Bay Packers are, and we're very, very excited to see what that offense looks like as a whole and what Jordan Love's going to be able to do. Those 3 quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, and Jordan Love, this offseason when you're doing Dynasty drafts, target those guys in the 2nd round of your Dynasty Superflex drafts. Right. That would probably be the number one thing I'd tell you.
Yeah, I mean, look at the teams that went dual elite QB here. You've got A-Rich and Herbert, which is, again, I'm not even being biased here. That's a dream start. That is the dream start. Getting a guy on that contract in the 2nd is stupid. Burrow and Love. That's a dream start. Caleb Williams and Lawrence. It's more risky than the other 2, but it's still, you're feeling really good about that. You've got a rookie. It makes it a little bit, but Hurts and Purdy. Purdy went a little bit higher here than he normally does, but Mahomes and Jaden Daniels. And so, again, really the best 2 starts here, in my opinion, were Burrow and Love, and then Richardson and Herbert, I think, the safest starts. Because you also have 2 teams here that went dual elite wide receiver up top, which is interesting because let's look at how those teams sorted out. You've got Amon-Ra, you've got Marvin Harrison here at the 12. And when you're looking at the rest of his draft, he got some pretty good value in other spots. Prescott, Cousins, Penix, and Fields. I will tell you one thing. There is a lot of ambiguity around those 4 quarterbacks. You do not feel near as good as you're at your most important position in Superflex leagues with those guys as you do with guys you know are going to be on contracts, you know are going to get paid. And yes, there's some risk to Anthony Richardson as well. You need to acknowledge that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ambiguity with the price of quarterbacks after the first two rounds altogether, which makes it really difficult if you're walking out of the first two rounds without some locked-in quarterbacks there in a superflex format. You might be forced to reach for a quarterback in a round or two because you've got to get some sort of insulation, some sort of security. You're going to end up screwed walking out of the startup draft and desperate for a quarterback. So just keep that in mind. It's risky, but it could pay off. And honestly, ending up with Amon-Ra, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a phenomenal start. CeeDee Lamb and Puka Nacua, phenomenal start. You can go wide receiver and quarterback in the first two rounds, end up with Justin Jefferson and Kyler Murray. That was one of my favorite starts as well. I thought it was phenomenal. But one of the biggest questions that people ask us when they're doing their startup drafts is, what should I be targeting? What would you recommend that we target in not only the first two rounds of the draft, but every single round, and what position should we be going in every single round, and what's your ideal archetype? And our number one answer every single time people ask this is
take the value.
There you go.
Yeah, take the
value that falls every single time.
And you knew we were going to say that, but we took Anthony Richardson. But had Joe Burrow made it to the 110, he's gone. Had Caleb Williams made it to the 110, he's gone. Had Lamar, gone. Even Justin Jefferson, had he made it there, gone. Why? Because Justin Jefferson was the market pick, meaning his trade value among my lead mates is most likely going to be higher than Anthony Richardson's if I want to go moving my pieces around to build my team how I want to. And so now you're looking at taking somebody like that to 110. I mean, really, I'm looking for the best value here. All these guys went about where they should have, but definitely at the 8 spot, getting Justin Jefferson there was the value pick for sure. I mean, for sure, that was the value pick. And you look at somebody like at the 212 here, Breece Hall. Breece Hall, consensus going like mid-second round. So when he falls to you at the end of the second and he's going around guys now that are left that are typically going in the third, you take the guy that's going in the second.
You have to take him there.
You do.
Yep.
Now, look, there are a lot. You can obviously not take value and still win a draft. However, you just find that you have a lot more working capital, because what I used to draft dynasty leagues like is I used to just pick all my favorite players based on my rankings, and then I would come out of drafts, and I realized nobody wanted to trade with me.
Have zero negotiation leverage.
And I'm like, why? Why don't you want to trade with me? Because the players that they actually liked were the players that the market actually likes. And remember, almost everybody in dynasty thinks in a group think type of way, except you, because you're special, because you watch our videos. But most people still are like, oh my gosh, guys, are you kidding me? Jaden Daniels, certified 100% Hall of Famer, no question. And we're like, you sure about that?
Maybe so, maybe not.
But it doesn't mean we're not drafting Jaden Daniels, right? It doesn't mean if Jaden Daniels falls to us, we're not drafting him. Why? Because if somebody wants to trade for Jaden Daniels, they are more likely to overpay for him than they are to pay for the guy I'm taking over Jaden Daniels that in the market is actually valued less than Jaden Daniels.
Draketh May.
Like, yeah, I like Drake May more. Does it matter? No. It doesn't. I'm always taking the value. That's the number one rule. So you have the dual elite QB strategy. You have the dual elite wide receiver strategy. You know, ultimately, I tend to lean dual elite QB, but there's no one right answer. And so when you move into the third and fourth round, this is where it gets tricky. Because we have our QB foundation here, we can go whatever direction we want to. If there's a value at quarterback, I'll still take it. But really, when it got to us, we're like, okay, the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL is on the board at the 3-3. That was our pick. Was it the value pick? I think it was, but it didn't super matter because A.J. Brown should be the value pick at the 3-3 with the insulation and with the fact that he's going to be playing on an offense that's going to be productive from a fantasy football perspective. And so you see that, and you see Drake London at the 3-7 from another dual elite QB team. You see Christian McCaffrey at the 3-6 from another dual elite QB team. Now they have the flexibility. You can take a Christian McCaffrey and feel okay about it because you've got such insulated value at the top. You can take a shot on Drake London a little bit earlier because you have two elite QBs, right? Even Tyreek Hill going to a team with Hurts and Purdy, you can do that and feel really good about it. Now, the flip side of this is when in the first and second round, you go elite wide receiver, and then you're taking Goff at the 3-4. And really, that's kind of a reach at the 3-4. Even though we like Goff, even though Goff we think should go there, he's not going there. Goff is not going over Malik Neighbors right now. He's not going over McCaffrey. He's not going over Tyreek Hill. Okay, so he had to take him, though, because his value's up in the air with, yes, some insulated value in CeeDee Lamb and Puka Nacua, but at the same time, those first two rounds kind of depend or kind of shape the rest of the way you're able to approach your draft. And for us, we were playing the house money at that point. So we took A.J. Brown, but a lot of other good strategies in these rounds are to get your elite tight end. That's one of them. And really in these drafts, we tell people this, and we have for years now, that if you're not getting one of those elite tight ends, just punt the position completely.
And by punt, we mean draft Taysom Hill after the 20th round. Like
Taysom
that's
great.
what we mean by
you're talking
punt.
about.
Taysom Hill is a phenomenal guy that you can plug in and maybe
he
get
probably
lucky with a
could punt, too.
15-point game. Seriously.
Yeah.
He probably could. He's very versatile.
He's a versatile player.
Look, the price that you're investing in a tight end does not pay off from a production perspective unless they are a top 6 producing tight end in tight end premium formats. It's even less in non-tight end premium.
Yes.
It's a top 3 to 4 producing tight end in non-tight end premium. So that's Sam Laporta. That is Trey McBride.
Yep.
That is Travis Kelce.
Yep.
And that is whoever you estimate is going to be the 4th most productive tight end this year, which is one of Hawkinson, Andrews, and probably Kincaid. Some would say. But even when you're getting to that 4th one, if it's unknown, you might just want to avoid it. But look, this is definitely the range. I mean, TJ Hawkinson, we haven't even gotten to the 7th round, but talk about taking the value that falls. TJ Hawkinson falling to the beginning of the 7th is absolutely ridiculous.
Why? Because TJ Hawkinson, when you're looking at him last year from a production standpoint, was the tight end 4 in 15 games. He had 127 targets in 15 games. And is he going to have that many targets next year? No, because number 1, he's hurt. Number 2, it's a different quarterback. So there's ambiguity around that situation. I acknowledge it. I'm good with it. The 7th round, I'm getting my elite tight end. Elite as in on an elite offense. I mean, the scheme is still going to be good there because you do retain the coaching staff and the scheme. But also somebody that we are confident is going to be on a good deal for a long time. He's 26. He's going to be relevant for 10 years. And also looking at past data. This is one way that I approach my startup drafts a lot is I've gone back and looked at 2016, 2017 ADP and like, okay, which players in which positions maintained their value the best? Quarterbacks and tight ends. We've mentioned this before. Tight end is a position that year over year tends to kind of maintain their value really well when you're looking at very productive tight ends. Travis Kelce, if you drafted Travis Kelce in your fantasy leagues 7-8 years ago, you're really happy you did. Even Mark Andrews now has been the top pick now, top 5-6 round pick for a couple years, and he still is a good pick. So
the nice thing about tight ends this year, especially, is in past years, your top tight ends have gone consistently in the 2nd round. Kyle Pitts, even in his heyday, they're talking about a 23-year-old who, back in his heyday, was going in the 1st round of Dynasty startups because of his upside. Now you're seeing the most valuable tight end in Dynasty fantasy football going at the beginning of the 3rd round at the absolute earliest. Sometimes Sam Laporta is even falling towards the middle or the end of the 3rd round in your startups. This is the time to go get that elite tight end at a more affordable price than you ever had to previously or were ever required to previously invest in.
Yeah.
Like this is your moment. This is your time to get one of those tight ends. So I would definitely strongly recommend in this range, rounds 3, rounds 4, rounds 5, rounds 6, go get that guy. Go get him.
Or and if you don't, fade the position
completely.
Again, we got lucky because in this range we took AJ Brown and then we took DJ Moore and then we took T. Higgins.
We were like, we're not going to end up with a good tight ends,
and we were okay with that.
We're okay,
and we'll get to that in a minute. What we did, and then also in this range, you have this range of receivers, and I want to make a note on this range of receivers. I'm talking about guys like Ayuk, Devonta Smith, Michael Pittman, DJ Moore, Nico Collins, T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, Tank Dell, DK Metcalf, Xavier Worthy, all these guys.
A lot of career wide receiver twos.
So what I want to point out to you, and what I think a lot of people are starting to pick up on, is there are a lot of receivers with wide receiver 2 upside in this range. How many of these guys actually have wide receiver 1 upside here? Let's look. DJ Moore has wide receiver 1 upside, right?
Brandon Ayuk
has wide receiver 1 upside. Michael Pittman's usually fringe. Like I consider Michael Pittman a wide receiver 2.
Me too.
DK is a wide receiver 2. Tank Dell, you could make the argument, but you don't really know.
He's probably a wide receiver 2.
So again,
T. Higgins maybe once he goes to another team next.
Maybe.
But even then, it's like, I don't know.
Right.
Has he ever really proven it?
So
No.
don't overvalue the wide receivers in this range and then end up with Michael Pittman and DK and
Not that those are bad assets. Like, we're not trying to dog on those assets. There are certain prices where it is worth taking them. Taking DK in the middle of the 5th round is a fine pick. Like, he is, look, if anything, Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf are incredibly safe assets. If you're looking for insulation and you're looking for guys that you know are going to maintain their value for the foreseeable future, those are the guys that you absolutely want to target. Just know you're not getting more out of what you probably expect from them, which is wide receiver 2.
But I will say this, even with that team, I remember saying this during the live stream, going Burrow, Love, McCaffrey, I would have gone for more upside there at 4 and 5 than Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf because they're safe and you know what you're getting. But that's a team built to win now. And so, sometimes you want to balance consistency and upside, but at the same time, I remember thinking in real time, like I would have went with somebody with wide receiver 1 upside. And so our 2 picks here were DJ Moore and T Higgins. And so we kind of did take the wide receiver 2 stuff, but again, we tried to go for upside. We went for DJ Moore because DJ Moore, we think he does have wide receiver 1 upside still this year in Chicago. And the reason we went T Higgins is because we think T Higgins in a year is going to be more valuable than this. So we think we can get a year's worth of production out of T Higgins and then jump next year and him be more valuable. We can do whatever we want with him and have a value win, if that makes sense. So again, these middle rounds, your tight ends, you got a lot of wide receiver 2s here. I don't love drafting running back here unless it's Saquon. Outside of that, like ETN, Kyron Williams, Devon Achane, not really guys we're taking here. I haven't really even taken a lot of Jonathan Taylor this year, honestly, although I like Jonathan Taylor. So really, those are kind of our focuses here. And then you've got the rookie QBs in here and Drake May and JJ McCarthy that are also fairly good picks. I think they're...
Well, especially when they fall even further, which is very realistic. In a lot of your dynasty startup drafts, you're going to see Drake May fall as far as the 6th, maybe even 7th round if you're lucky. Don't say it doesn't happen. We've seen it countless times.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Countless times.
Okay, so let's move to like the 6th, 7th, 8th round.
Yeah, I was going to say 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's look through round 6 to 9 because why not?
Why was 6 afraid of 7?
I don't know why.
Because 7, 8, 9. You never heard that? No. What?
Anyways. This is kind of the range, round 6, 7, 8, 9, where you have your really, really productive veteran assets and some veterans that even are on the downtrend from a value perspective and maybe even a production perspective. I'm talking about guys like Travis Kelce, who you know where you're going to get out of Travis Kelce. That is probably the tight end 1 overall. He was banged up last year. He missed out on being tight end 1 overall. He still was a tight end 2, and he's freaking 35. And Rashee Rice might be in jail. Like, I don't know. I'm kidding. I don't think he is going to be. He's got a fast car. But Stephon Diggs in the 8th round, a situation that's kind of, I don't really know what to make of it. Devontae Adams really couldn't do much consistently because of Jimmy Garoppolo last year and our man, Aiden O'Connell from Purdue. Now he has Gardner Minshew, who provides a lot of passing volume. True. But is Devontae Adams kind of fed up with the Raiders organization and the situation there? I don't know. And he's not getting any younger, but there's some legitimate questions there. George Kittle. We love George Kittle. Can he maintain the consistency that he had last year and stay healthy? Then we're looking at the young guys who have some significant question marks. Jackson Smith and Jigba, who lost a little value. Jordan Addison, who has a new quarterback that won't provide near the passing volume that Kirk Cousins has over the last many years in Minnesota. You've got guys like DeAndre Swift on second deals, Josh Jacobs on second deals, a multi-year, 1-year deal. You've got James Cook, who Zach Evans was drafted to the Buffalo Bills. Maybe Frank Gore Jr. will take over the backfield there. I don't know. Isaiah Pacheco, got questions. Bo Nix, Will Levis, 2 young assets that have a lot of questions with their offenses and really how much team commitment is there. Ultimately, we don't really know. So is there a lot of value installation there? Not necessarily, but if they have a good year, they're going to shoot up boards. So there's a lot of upside picks here, and there's a lot of take your points and go try and win your league picks here. And those are your veterans versus your younger rookie assets that have more question marks.
Yeah, so in this range, we went Jonathan Brooks at the 6'10" because we think Jonathan Brooks is a top 10 dynasty running back easily right now that we got in the late 6th. Heck yeah, we think that value is going to increase by next year. 100%. And then we took Hawk because Hawk fell to the 7th round. We feel
I didn't think
really
that was
good
realistic.
about that.
I would have been happy taking him in the 5th. That would have been a good price.
I would have been too. But you're looking at guys like JSN and Jaden Reed. Those are the upside picks that Nathan was talking about here, right? And when you get into this range, there's another point that I like to make about your startup strategy, and that's don't be afraid to draft a quarterback 3 here. I would even say this extends up as far as like the 4th, 5th round if you want to draft like a QB3 because you're looking at, the 7 team got Williams, Lawrence, and then took Drake May. I like that start a lot. I do. But looking here, like Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins both went here to the same team, but Kirk Cousins is a perfect pick for a QB3 in this range. Baker Mayfield, good QB3. I'd prefer him to go a little bit lower, but guys like Bo Nix and Will Levis at the beginning of the 8th are a perfect example of this. Because with Bo Nix and Will Levis, these are guys that are going to start for their respective teams this year. And when you're talking about having a QB3, what?
I just got the 7-8-9 joke.
Are you?
Yeah, just move on.
Oh my gosh, the stupidity, dude.
8-9.
Okay,
let's go.
How have you never heard that? Everyone's heard that joke, Nathan.
I don't know why it didn't resonate. I was too in the
This is what happens when you're homeschooled. This is what happens. That's That's what happens when you're homeschooled. Okay, anyways, Bo Nix and Will Levis. I think there's a lot of I'm not going to be able to get past that, aren't I? I got to think through it.
You got this.
There's reluctancy to take a QB3 because I think we're like, I have to capitalize at every other position if I've already got 2 elite QBs. I got to get all the wide receivers and all my flex spots, and we're going and we're checking our starting lineup. But drafting a QB3 is one of the best things you can do. One, because like 60% of starting quarterbacks in the league got hurt last year at some point. So a QB3, if you end up having to start Terrence Marshall in your superflex, you're pissed about that, right? And so when you have a Bo Nix, a Will Levis, you're at least going to get starting numbers out of those guys, right? Hopefully a step up from Kenny Pickett at least. Right. So with that, don't be afraid to take a QB3. QB3s are very valuable for any contending team. Any good contending team needs a good QB3. And also, it naturally insulates the value of your team. So in these rounds, if you're going QB3, that's a good move as well. And as far as the rest of this goes, you're either taking rookie fallers like Leggett here in the 8th, like Adonai Mitchell and Jalen Polk in the 9th round, or you're taking veterans to fill out the team that you built in your first pick. So we took 4 or 5 cornerstone assets up here: Richardson, Herbert, A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, and T. Higgins. And then so you look past T.J. Hawkinson here, and we took Christian Kirk, the wide receiver 1 in his offense, playing with Trevor Lawrence on a good insulated deal, a veteran piece to round out our team with some scoring. Tony Pollard just got a new deal, brand new offense. Brian Callahan, not Mike Vrabel, different Titans, starting running back. Okay, and
Calvin Ridley.
Then we go Calvin Ridley. Wide receiver 1, just got a new contract.
4 years, $95 million contracts.
All 3 of these guys are going to be productive. We were picking these guys up because we're talking about the 8th, 9th, 10th spots on your roster. You're talking about your flex spots. And when I'm talking about flexing guys, like number 1, I'm going for production here. But number 2, if I can get value insulation on top of the production, then I'm talking about not risking the entire security of my team. So some examples of some picks here that maybe weren't as value insulated. You're talking about guys like Jameson Williams in the 10th. Not productive, not super value insulated. Right? He's going in his 3rd year in the NFL. And he hasn't done anything. Okay? So Jameson Williams here, not my favorite pick. I don't blame somebody else for picking him because, again, he could pop off. I'm not picking him, though, for that reason. That's why I don't think he's as good a pick. When you're talking about somebody like, who else is here? Christian Watson had a good 6-game stretch in his career, and outside of that, we're still like, we don't know what to expect with Christian Watson, and he's not insulated. Again, going in his 3rd year in the NFL. So is he going to get a second deal? Is he going to stay on the Packers organization? Is he going to go somewhere else? Is he going to be productive consistently? We don't know, but that's the kind of stuff we're thinking about.
This range from 10 to 12 is super cool too, because like you were talking about the quarterbacks where you can get them to start like a Bo Nix or a Will Levis, you're still getting Daniel Jones and Geno Smith, Aaron Rodgers in the 10th round, Russell Wilson in the 12th. I'm going to ignore Justin Fields in the 11th. Derek Carr in the 13th, like Gardner Minshew in the 14th. These are guys that are starting. Do you know where they're going to be past 2024? Absolutely not. Can you start them? Heck yeah, you can.
Yeah.
So really, like that's what you're looking for in this range. It really becomes a crapshoot at this point. So start taking your points. Start taking your veteran running back fallers that are going in the 11th, 12th, 13th round. Take your Aaron Jones. Take your Nick Chubb. Take your Alvin Kamara, for crying out loud. Take your Alvin Kamara, please. Yeah. Take your Austin Eckler. Oh man.
What would you call those types of picks?
Take your Ezekiel Elliott for reals. Like, he's probably going to be the running back 1 in Dallas. As much crap as the Cowboys have gotten for not taking a running back, which well-deserved, and as much crap as Ezekiel Elliott has gotten the last couple of years for getting worse and worse and worse from an efficiency perspective, he was not too bad on one of the worst teams in the NFL last year.
No, he really
wasn't. Not too bad at all.
Not really.
So I think he's still got some juice left. Take your veteran running backs here if you want to get some point scorers, even if you're looking like a productive struggle or maybe a rebuild type of build. If you have some of these veteran running backs going into the season, guess who wants those running backs in the middle of the season? Your contenders. Guys, I took Adam Thielen in this range last year. I ended up being a rebuild. I sold him in the middle of the season for 2 second-round picks. You don't think it happens? It absolutely does. It is worth so many picks to go win your league and win money for contenders, and it is so worth it for rebuilds to sell those veteran scoring assets.
You're going to be 85 someday, and you're going to be talking to your grandkids like, back in my day, I got Adam Thielen, and I sold him for 2 seconds. You say that so much.
I haven't said it in forever.
Oh, okay. It has been like 10 or 12 days. So I guess that's
10 or
true.
12 weeks.
Are you sure about that?
Yes,
I can fact check you on that one.
I'm absolutely sure about that.
All right. And then so past the 12th round, it really becomes a crapshoot. This is where when people are asking me for advice.
Rookie wide receivers.
Well, yeah. Rookies, rookie running backs, rookie wide receivers. And then you go for guys that are 1 injury away. Okay. So good example of this. Sam Darnold, 1 injury away. Sam Howell, 1 injury away. Who else?
Sam Darnold.
You
already say Sam Darnold?
Gosh dang it. No, don't cut that out. Just leave it in there. This is what I'm dealing with this video. Who else? Keaton Mitchell's a good one.
Yeah.
Tyrone Tracy's a good one.
Jameis Winston.
Darnell Mooney's a good one. Guys that are 1 injury away from having the volume. Volume does not mean everything, but volume is decent in situation. So you're chasing situation here. You're chasing backup quarterbacks. You're chasing rookies.
Joe Flacco on the Colts.
There you go. You're 1 injury away, right? Again, past the 12th round, kind of a crapshoot, but
take shots on some tight ends too.
Well, yeah, and you see that if you show the 19th through 21st round here, Luke, you see how many tight ends went off here. Because again, tight ends always that like 1 injury away. There's that range of 25 to 50 in Dynasty of tight ends, 1 injury away. We took a couple here. We took Taysom Hill. We took Colby Parkinson. We took Tyler Higbee. So we took both of those Rams wide receivers. Parker Washington, we took way down here. Rashad Bateman, right? Treylon Burks in the 18th. Like, we know these, again, this is kind of playing into our rookie draft strategy, guided dart throws here. But again, mostly a crapshoot. As is most of this video, because Nathan had never heard that joke. I don't know how he's not heard that joke.
It started to sound familiar the more I thought about it, but I was like, I don't get it. Now it makes sense.
So a lot of times I'll tell Nathan a joke and he'll go home and he'll text me and he'll be like, I get it. I'm like, dude.
No, I haven't done that forever.
Like 10 to 12 weeks. All right, make sure you drop a like on this video. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. Appreciate you guys watching. Flockfantasy.com/domain. Use code domain. Sign up for the Mother Flocker tier. You get startup draft strategy advice in real time. Appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for watching. See you later.